Welcome into the Thunder basketball universe. We've got an action-packed show for you today. Let me tell you all about it. We are coming to you right now from the Thunder's practice facility, the Thunder Ion. And for the regular listeners of the pod, you know that when we're here, it's always a special time because we're getting a chance to chat with one of our Thunder players. But also, stick around because later in the podcast, we'll meet the man who will lead the design process for Oklahoma City's new arena, David Manica. Boy, so much in store. Yeah. But first, let's welcome in and say hello to the Thunder's very own Lu Dort, taking some time out of his day today, post-practice, to come talk to us. Lu, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
I think officially the longest tenured member of the team at this point, which is just amazing to feel that.
Right.
Yeah, what does that feel like for you?
It feels good, honestly. Happy on my side, and just the way that I started here and how they believed in me, and they had so much faith in me when I first started here, and then that I'm still here. I'm just really happy and grateful, for this organization to give me that opportunity.
Is it fair to give you vet status at this point? I mean, I know you're still young.
I'm still young, but compared to my teammates, I'm a little old. Yeah.
You're probably like the fourth or fifth oldest guy on the team. I think at this point.
Yeah. I'm up there.
Yeah. Well, as a vet now, going into this season, 5 preseason games, so a few new faces. Just what has this preseason been like for you all as a group now that you've played those 5 games?
It's been good. It's a start. Some of the new stuff that we have put in our system and stuff like that, really bringing in the new players as well. But, the biggest thing for us is to trying to build our chemistry, and it starts early. And I feel like those 5 games really helped us, getting there.
It seems like there would be this temptation to be like, all right, let's get this over with already. Let's get to the real games. But everybody I've talked to, there's been such a discipline to this portion of the year right now. Even these few days leading up is so important leading up to the regular season. Mm-hmm. Why do you guys are able to maintain that perspective?
Just because it's the base. All the little details that we'll need during the season, that's the time now to really start and talk about it and stuff like that. So, be really patient. We all look forward for the season, definitely. But, we just know those days that we have right now to prepare for the season, it's really important.
Lu, you mentioned building chemistry, and I think a lot of people think, oh, this group needs to build chemistry. They need to know when to pass to each other or when to cut. But I feel like defensively, chemistry is just as important. And as a defensive guy, could you explain kind of how you guys build chemistry on that end of the floor, what that looks like?
The number one thing is communication, being vocal on the court, and then just knowing what other teammates are doing well on that end. And, Kaysen is a pretty good on-ball defender. AC is a pretty good on-ball defender, and then the list goes on. But it's just knowing what they like to do and how ahead we need to communicate or whatever and all those type of stuff. But, all that comes from really the preparation and the practice and all that. And, it's been going really well. Can't say too much details right now, but it's going pretty good. Yeah.
We did hear that AC is a pretty vocal guy out there on the floor, and it sounded like he was pretty vocal from day one.
He was, yeah. Yeah, that's just how he is. And, he's experienced. He had a lot of years, plays for a couple of teams, and he knows what it takes, to be really good on that on the floor. And, he let it know as soon as he got here. And then, we need that on our hand.
Yeah. I know that you're not going to give anything away, obviously, but it's hard not to imagine that ball swinging around the perimeter and you're in somebody's grill, and then Kaysen's in somebody's grill, and J-Dub and
Terrifying.
AC. It's just the list kind of goes on. What do you think about the way that can maybe pile up on a defensive possession and how that can have an effect on the opposing team over the course of a game?
Yeah, I know it can be really good. Like you name the names, we all can do it at a high level, and which is terrifying. And we just gotta be on point. And that's the team that we have, and then that's how we're gonna look. So I'm really looking forward to that.
You're kind of smiling there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's got to be so much fun to know that you got some dogs with you out there to handle those perimeter players.
Yeah, most definitely. As hard as we play hard on defense, we're going to make mistakes. And just knowing the trust and the guys that I have, with me is like, okay, I'm allowed to make a couple mistakes and they're going to have my back. And that's just how we are, and that's how we take pride on our defense, especially.
some keys for you guys in that, in terms of something we just talked to Shea, and he said, like, we can have all the defensive talent in the world, we can have all the offensive talent in the world, but if we're not working together, none of that really matters. These other teams are too good. These players are too good.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective there on, not letting the foot off the gas and knowing like this, we've got to be really cohesive here.
Yeah. I mean, he said it right. I mean, we can have all that talent, but everything comes from the preparation and then the time that we spend together on the court, and then to be able to feel and to be on the court together, to just learn and all that, and that's going to take us far. I mean, we can have all those guys, but if it doesn't work together, it won't be good. So that's why we need all the preparation we can have to really get along on the court.
Lou, I want to switch gears a little bit because we mentioned off the top you're one of the longest tenured guys here on this team. A guy who's right there next to you is Shea, who has been here since 2019, and you two have grown so much since the start. What's it been like building that relationship with Shea and seeing his growth and where he's at right now? I mean, you guys are so close.
Yeah, it's been really impressive to see how far he's got, how every year he's come back, he got better and stuff like that. So as a friend and teammate as well, it's amazing to see his growth and especially on his leadership side too, as well as like how he helps the team, really get along with each other and stuff like that. And I know he got way more. I mean, he's shown a lot, but I know he got way more. Is
there anybody else that kind of fits into that category to you, of a guy that you've really sort of admired, of like the steps that they've taken in their career since they've been here? You've gotten to observe everybody that's been here.
Yeah. I mean, another guy I can talk about that is on his way there will be Dub. The way he works and also the way he sees Shea work and all that, and Shea helping him as well. I mean, I would see him, get to that path as well. But it's just amazing how, from Shea, from like his leadership, it's crazy how he kind of brings everybody on board with him, and everybody feels positive and confident around some guys like that. So it's great.
Another guy that we've known that you've built a little bit of relationship with, Ooze.
Yeah.
And what's that relationship like just between you two?
I mean, the number one thing is we both speak French, and then every time I got some on my chest and he got some on his chest, we go into each other and we just talking a lot. But at the same time, Ooze is growing as well. Every year he's been in a different position and all that type of stuff, and there's so much new stuff that comes along and every year as well. So he's getting better. Anytime he has a question or anything like that, he'll come to me because he's felt a lot comfortable talking to me. But I'm just trying to do everything I can do to help him.
It seems like you've helped him open up a little bit more, and obviously he's had a whirlwind of a life the last 3 or 4 years. Going to New Zealand and then coming here and learning the language more.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you've maybe helped him just kind of come out of his shell and be confident?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my path as well. Like, it's before I got to the NBA, I've grown up in Montreal, going to high school in the States and stuff. It's hard to, blend in different cultures right away. So the fact that, I've been through it, and when he first got here, I was just trying to help him out in that sense, and really the way just talking to anybody and just making him feel comfortable will help, and it did to him.
Kaysen said that his first few months here really meant a lot to him. He's talk about quiet. He's pretty reserved, and he said early on, I just was observing everything. And he said, once we started to kind of like make some memories and make some inside jokes together, he really felt connected to the group.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that and the way that you guys kind of made him feel included right away?
I would say those type of stuff is more outside the court. It's the time that we spend in the locker room, that we talk about anything on the planes, or whenever we play cards, or whenever we do some team activities, whatever, if we go out to dinner or whatever. And those type of stuff help. So I would say those stuff outside the court help, some of the guys really just being more comfortable and go out there and, being vocal and talking and stuff.
Well, Lou, before we let you go, we got to get your thoughts. I mean, regular season is around the corner. We're recording this. It's game week. You got a game on Thursday against the Denver Nuggets. How is this group feeling heading into that regular season opener in Denver?
Really excited, confident, just based off of the preparation that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks. So, we'll be ready for, the first game and also the whole season. It's going to be a long season, and we'll take everything day by day and game by game. But we excited to get going.
And we're excited to see it in action. We are so looking forward to it. Lou, thanks so much for the
Thank
time.
you.
Appreciate you, Lou.
Pleasure.
All right. Before we head out, we're going to send you off to the next very exciting segment of this show. It's official. It's approved. The city of Oklahoma City has selected a architecture team to design the city's new arena. And the design process will be led by a man whose iconic and visionary works are known around the world. Our very own Dan Mahoney introduces us to David Manica. Check it out.
Thanks, Paris. Well, we're going to give Nick and Paris a little breather here in the Thunder basketball universe because we have a very special guest with us. I think as a lot of people know, the voters of Oklahoma City in December of 2023 approved funding for a new arena for downtown Oklahoma City. It's an exciting time. We've been spending the past 10 months sort of putting the process together, developing a development agreement between the city and the Thunder. The city has hired a project consultant in CAA Icon. And now it's time to get real. The city has now hired and city council has approved hiring of Manica Architects of Kansas City to be the lead design and architect firm that puts this all together. And we have a very special guest with us, and that is David Manica himself, the president and owner of Manica. David, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Appreciate it.
We are in Oklahoma City very excited at what's ahead for our future for downtown, not just for the Thunder, but just for the atmosphere of downtown. We're going to be heading into as I like to say, the second quarter of the century, which is pretty cool to think about. And we're going to really be on pace to do great things for Oklahoma City, and the arena is certainly a centerpiece of that. And you're going to play a very important role in that. I want to talk to you about a lot of things as we sort of introduce you to the community, but kind of want to start with the project itself. Manica is a world-renowned. You like to call yourself a boutique shop, but you have done projects all over the world, sports and entertainment facilities. You've done the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco. You've done the Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas. You're working on the Tennessee Titans Stadium in Tennessee. You can't do them all. So why Oklahoma City? What led you to the Oklahoma City project, and how do you feel about it?
Well, listen, I got into doing, I always wanted to be an architect, but I got into doing sports architecture because I want to work on projects that make a difference to cities. And as a small firm, which we are compared to a lot of my competitors, we get to pick and choose our projects pretty carefully. I don't want to do all the projects. I just want to do the best ones. And there's a saying as well that says, an architect's only as good as his best client. So when I think about clients and when I think about cities where I can make a difference, Oklahoma City was at the top of that list. I mean, what a great group of people, both in the city and with the team. All the citizens are wonderful that I've met so far. And this project won't be the start of a renaissance in Oklahoma City, but it is the continuation of and a part of that momentum. And I think that, my time that I spend in Oklahoma City with you all and the work that we're going to do together there is going to make a bigger difference to you than it might in other places around the world. And those are the kinds of projects that I want to be a part of.
So we'll get into sort of the process moving forward. And then your sort of thoughts about the design process and how you look at it and your firm looks at it. But let's talk a little bit more about your firm and about you. Tell us about the firm. Tell us the kind of work you've done and what you kind of prioritize in the world of sports and entertainment facility architecture.
Yeah, perfect. So I started my career after graduating university in '94, and I went straight for a job that was focused on sports architecture. The truth is, in Kansas City here, where I grew up, there are a lot of different architects that specialize in sports architecture. So if you're going to get a job in a firm that is large in size, you're likely going to be touching sports in some way. And I was in that group. I worked my way up to be managing design director of that office. And in 2007, I decided to leave and start my own company with the express intent to be a little bit different than all the others. So my firm is a boutique design firm. We focus on the design in all the early stages of sport and entertainment buildings around the world. And that gives us the opportunity to be more nimble, to pick and choose the projects that we work on a little bit more specifically. and to really bring a lot of personality and attention to those projects. So, when you hire our firm, you get a team that's danced together exclusively for the past 10 years. Every project that you see in our portfolio is the team that you're going to get, and I think that's a real differentiator for us. And I think it will be an important part of how this project in Oklahoma City develops. It's going to have a lot of personal attention from our team, but also a big part of what we do is we listen. And I think the most important thing that we can do in the early stages of any project is listen very carefully to what the project wants to be. That means listening to the city, listening to the team, listening to the fans, listening to the citizens, and understanding really, what they want the project to be, and understanding how the project can develop in response to the sort of collective good of everyone involved.
So tell us about that decision to go off on your own. Was that a leap of faith? Was that an easy decision? Was that something that people said, "What are you doing?" Did you
They
ask
did. They did.
your wife say,
It
"What
was
are you
not.
doing?" I mean, how'd you reach that decision?
Yeah, it's a good. Thanks for asking. So, let's see. To sort of roll back the time, it was 2007. I'd been working for 13 years in the large firm that I worked for. I had a vision of doing something differently, like I explained, and I knew what the assets and the benefits of that could be. My wife had just had a baby though, 3 months early. So in March '07, my wife had our first daughter together. And she had told me that she was not thinking of going back, or she was thinking of not going back to work. And in the same breath, I kind of said, well, that's funny because I'm thinking that I might quit my job and start my own company. And she did not say, you're crazy. She did not say, do you really think now's a good time? Instead, she said, you'll be great. It will be great. I think you should do that. And the truth is, I had saved enough money that I knew our family would be okay for a year. It was in the bank. And if the phone didn't ring and I didn't get a single job, then I knew that I could go find another job in a year. So that gave me the sort of peace of mind. That was the safety net that emotionally I needed to make that decision. And I made the jump. I did not take a project with me. I bought a laptop. I opened it at the dining room table. I started making phone calls, and I just hustled every day since then. And I think hustling is a really important part of what we do and how we do it. And frankly, that sense of hustle and that sense of pride in what you do and who you are is something that I picked up in the city as well, which was another reason why I was intrigued to be a part of this project, because I think our spirits are well aligned.
When you first thought, whether you were a kid or you were in high school or you were in college, that architecture was your thing. When did you kind of make the switch to say, I don't want to do office buildings? I want to do sports and entertainment facilities. When did you kind of make that transition?
So and this is true for many architects, they've always wanted to be an architect. So I remember even before I knew what that word was, I was going to church with my parents, and on the back of the sermon notes there was a blank piece of paper. And I was in fifth grade, so I wasn't taking notes, but what I was doing was I was sketching the houses that I had seen between my house and the church. And my parents thought that was interesting, and we didn't really talk about it that much, but it continued over and over again, and that's what I was doing. And eventually I was told that there were people that got paid to draw houses all day, and they're called architects. And I thought, that's wonderful. I could make a living out of drawing houses. That sounds amazing. So when you're a kid, you think you're going to draw houses because that's really the extent of the architecture that you're familiar with. But as you grow and as I went to school, I began to understand the breadth of opportunities within the world of architecture and the building industry in general. I realized that my passion, let's say my superpower, was in the design phase of it. So really conceptualizing how the project would work and what it would look like and how people would work through it and enjoy it and experience it. And then I was drawn to sports for the reason that I already mentioned. Like if you're going to work on sports projects, you're probably going to be a part of the Kansas City environment in some way. It was my hometown, and I wanted to work on projects that made a difference. So that was the general evolution into the field, and it was something that I've always wanted to do.
How do you think, you being from, as they say, the heartland, you're from Kansas, how do you think that helps you in coming into Oklahoma City and developing the project?
Well, Being from Kansas City in a lot of ways is kind of like being from Oklahoma City. It's a wonderful city, but people ask me all the time, why do you live there? And there's a couple things I say about it. I say, it's a great place to leave, but a wonderful place to come home to. And I also say it's not close to anything, but it's equally close to everything. So, being from the middle of the country, you, in your sort of spirit, you have this, I don't want to say inferiority complex, but you have this something to prove, right? You feel as though you're just as good as everyone else, but they don't know it. And so there's this spirit of humility and gratitude for what we have in our homeland, but also the spirit that you have something to prove, that you want to be bigger and better than you even already are. And so I think that that's a huge part of my personality, and I think that that's what we have the opportunity to do here together in Oklahoma City, is really make the project shine, to make the city shine, and to bring the eyes of the world of sports to Oklahoma City and say, wow.
It's great. All right, let's move on to the project. First, kind of walk through the process a little bit. We're about to hit the start of the season, and we are in October of 2024. Kind of take us forward with the target date, obviously, of opening the building by the summer of 2028.
Mm-hmm. So I like to reverse engineer every problem that's given to me. That's the way architects think usually. So the project will take about 25 months, 24 to 26 months to build. So if you want to be open in 28, we kind of have to have our drawings done in 26. So that gives us now from where we are now to the point that we need to be for them to begin construction. And there is a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of different definitions for the phases of architecture. But the way I'll explain it very quickly and simply is that the first phase is about listening and understanding what we're going to put in the project. That phase is called programming. And if you think about making a meal, I like to use the analogy of making a meal. The end of the meal, what you're eating that's like the building that's built. The recipe is the drawings that we do, and the ingredients that you go out and get are the programming phase. So right now we're just sort of understanding the ingredients of this recipe, what we want it to taste like, what the different aspects and flavors will be, and we'll begin listening very carefully to what we want that experience to be like. So that's programming, and that's going to last for the next 2 months, really until the beginning of the next year. Then next year in 2025, we'll be very, very intensely designing the project through all the different phases. And there's a concept phase and a schematic design phase and a design development phase. And those are 3 different words for basically just establishing the development of the project, right? We will initially outline the very, very sort of high level thoughts about what the project could be, what it'll look like, where it will sit on the site, how many seats, how many different kinds of seats in the building, and all those will begin to be established. As we move into schematic design, then all the engineering systems will begin to support that concept, and further development will be unveiled. And then in design development, the theory is, and the idea is, that you get all the design decisions made, and you're ready to go into the final production of the construction documents, which will happen in later 2025, 26, so that we can be prepared to start construction in 26. So yeah, basically, we're starting with no preconceptions. I want to come to this table with my listening ears on and really understand, what the city and the team want for this project. It's an incredible opportunity, and then we will begin drawing, and we'll begin drawing in January. And I would say sometime in the middle of 2025, next summer, we'll start to see some renderings, some images of what this project could look like. And I'm sure we're all excited to get to that point, but we have to do first things first. And to have a really successful project, you have to do the right thing at the right time.
So you'll have this incredible blank canvas, right? How do you just start that design in your head with your staff, with the partners you're working with, the Thunder and the city? And how do you meet the multitude of needs? I mean, it's not just a basketball arena. It's an entertainment facility. It's concerts. It's other events. How do you kind of get the ball rolling on that and move forward?
Right. Well, that's a really good point, Dan. I'm glad you brought that up. And it's another reason why I love sport and entertainment buildings is because they serve multiple masters. So in a home, for example, you have one family that you have to make sure loves it. But in an arena home, you have the players, you have the fans, you have the city, you have the concert goers, you have the concert promoters, you have the coaches, you have the referees, you have the maintenance staff, you have the owners. I mean, there are a lot of people that call that building home. And all of them have to feel as though they're getting the very best sort of design for them. And it is an incredible three-dimensional puzzle of opinions and desires and wish lists to manage. But we do it again, just very carefully by listening. A big part of it is in this front phase, understanding what we're going to design before we put pen to paper. Now, the interesting thing about the way the design process for a project like this goes is one of the very first things we'll start designing is the kinds of a very detailed drawing around the seating environment, understanding which kind of events will be hosted there, which kind of events might take priority over other events. That is perfectly normal. That's the way any multi-purpose building will be done. And we'll begin to sort of design a very technical, organized approach to the seating environment. We call it the seating bowl. That's the sort of bowl-shaped environment where everyone sits and watches, in this case, the basketball game or the concerts or whatever else we might host. And it's a very, very technical, computer-driven analysis. How many seats between the aisles? How many aisles? How steep is it? What are they seeing? What's the sightline criteria? How does it change dimensions for different events? Ironically, then, on the other hand, we're working with a very fat marker about where this building is going to sit on the site. How are people coming to it? Where are the plaza spaces? How will those spaces be used on non-event days for other civic events? Where's the landscaping? Where do the cars go? Where do the trucks go? How high is the building? What's the building begin to be shaped like? Where are the utilities coming from? How do we get those into the building most effectively? So there's two things happening at once. There's this highly technical analysis of where all the seats are and what kind of seats are they and how do they give the best experience for all the different events in the project. And then on the other hand, our fat markers thinking about, sort of big gestures, bold gestures about how the building is going to fit within the master plan of the site and the vision of the future of the city. And what happens over time is those two things begin to meld together into a concrete design that then becomes a rendering that we can explain. So that's the nuance of how we do these projects. It's both art and science happening simultaneously from the inside out and the outside in.
So I imagine being an architect, you have to have vision, literal vision, of course, but a vision for what's ahead. So as you put together a design for this building or any building that you work on, whether it's an NFL stadium or an NBA arena, how do you design to be timeless, both from an appearance standpoint and an aesthetic standpoint, but also, obviously changing technology? That alone, I imagine, is really difficult to gauge what things will be like in, a year or 10 years or 25 years.
Yeah. That's a good question. There's a couple things I would say in response to that. First of all, that part is more art than science, right? I mean, you just have to sort of listen to what the project wants to be and unveil it by chipping away all the noise of what it doesn't want to be so that it ends up being just what it wants to be. Design, I think the most important thing for designing a project that is timeless is that the project tell a story. And that's really important. And every project that we've done tells a different story, a story about the team, a story about the city, a story about where the city and the team want to go in the future. It has some links to the past in some cases. And so we will begin to build a story around this project so that when people see it and when people experience it, they understand that it's unique for this city, it's unique for this team, it's unique for its environment and its location, and it could only be in Oklahoma City. And I think that's a huge part of a project being timeless, is it being specific to its place and being reverent about its position in the future. Because this project is not just about the people who will go see it on opening day, it's about the children of the people that will go see it on opening day and their children's children and generations of people that will go have these wonderful, incredible experiences and in every way be inspired to be better at what they do because they're witnessing this incredible sort of a magic, either in a concert or in on the basketball floor or on any sporting event. So if the building tells an authentic story about its place and about its people, then I think it becomes timeless. And all too often, architects fall into drawing something that looks trendy because they saw it somewhere else and it was a famous building somewhere else. So they try to grab a little idea. We don't do that. I'm very proud that we don't sort of lift trends from one project to another. And what you see will be perfectly genuine and sincere and authentic to this place. And therefore, it will stand the test of time.
When you think about the fan experience or the guest experience, after what you just said, I hate to use the word trend, but is there a trend toward more open space in these sort of facilities?
Yes, there is a trend towards more openness, and that's sort of captured in a lot of different ways. The biggest trend I would see, and this is the one that I'm most excited about, is that you've heard the saying "less is more." In this kind of building, a lot of times with regard to experiences, more is more. So we're seeing more diversity in the types of experiences that people can choose to buy a ticket for, and more diversity and breadth in the variety of those experiences, and that gives people more reason and more interest and have more fun to come back and do it again. So 10 15 years ago, the buildings that we designed were much more limited in the ticket types. And you either had a general GA seat or you had a club seat or you had a suite. And now what's happening is there's 7 to 10 to 15 different kinds of tickets that you can buy in the buildings, 7 to 10 to 15 different kinds of experiences. And then to your point about openness, those lines between the two are becoming blurrier. So you can sort of pass from one experience to another, or your ticket may give you opportunity to access a different part of the building with a simple upgrade or some kind of other value added opportunity. And then all the lines between these experiences become more open and more exciting and more diverse and more interesting. And so that's what we're seeing. And I think that's the promise that we'll bring to you for your building here in Oklahoma City too, is a really wide variety of experiences and opportunities to have fun at the building.
For the building's purpose as a home of the Thunder, how do you design creating an environment that kind of meets the needs of our competitive atmosphere? How can your design help put our organization and our team in a position to be successful?
Yeah, to have a home field advantage, let's say, to have advantage in this building. Well, there's a couple things we can do that we will do. First of all, we want to make the building really loud, and we want to make it feel intense and sort of scary, honestly, to the opposing team, right? So we can do that in a number of different ways. First of all, we do that by pulling the fans as close to the court or the action as possible. That's number one. But number two, which a lot of other architects might miss, is we pull them closer to each other. And so when a crowd feels more united, it feels louder and more active and more exciting. And so we will really sort of compress that intensity of the event into this building, and I'll say suck a lot of air out of the building. So it'll feel as compact and tight as possible. When you do that, it's an emotional intensity, but it's also physically more intense. Building gets louder with less air in it when everyone's closer to each other. When you're closer to the other person that's yelling on the other side of the court, it feels louder. So we'll be doing those kinds of things to really make this an exciting place to play. I don't have any preconceptions about the design. I'm sure there's some really interesting things that we're going to do to create those kind of diverse experiences that will also sort of play into what it feels like to play a game in this building, which is unlike playing a game in any other building. And that's one of the words I like to use is a signature element. So a lot of people use the word iconic, like I want the project to be iconic. That word has been used so often now that some people don't even really know what it means. It's kind of lost its meaning.
Kind of like
But
state of the art.
state of the art is great. I also like signature. So when you have a signature, your signature is your personality. It's what makes you you. It's how people recognize you. It's how you authorize yourself to others, right? It's your signature. And I want this building to have its own signature. And when people are there, they understand that they're in Oklahoma City. They understand that they're in the Thunder's home. They understand that this building is unlike any other, and that it has a signature, that it has something that's really, really special about it that no one else has.
One of the things that people don't think about, nor do they need to in terms of the public, but we certainly do, is everything that guests and fans don't see. All of the back of the house, as we call it, stuff.
Yeah.
Locker rooms, kitchens, hallways, loading docks, that sort of thing. Obviously, very important to the project. How do you approach that? Let's start with the sort of the player area, the locker room, in terms of, again, trying to create that environment that puts the team and the organization in a place to succeed.
Mm-hmm. So this goes back to my previous point about the building being home to a lot of different people. So if we want to talk about the players first, what we'll do is we will interview the players, we will interview the coaches, we'll interview the whole basketball ops side, and we'll understand how they operate their home, right? And every home is different. Everyone lives in their home a little bit differently. I want the wastebasket over here. I want the wastebasket over there. I want a laundry chute. I don't want a laundry chute. I want a mudroom before I come in the garage. No, I want to hang my jacket up because I come in the front door. All of those kinds of discussions, we listen to the team and we fine tune the design so that everything is exactly where they want it to be. Trainer's office here, off the training room here. Flow of players from here to there. I mean, all of those things can be controlled or fine-tuned in the design. And so the truth is, during the phases of design, we'll be sitting down with all of them and really, really listening carefully and understanding how they want their home to operate. And then we'll draw it, and then they'll look at it and we'll make changes until it's perfect. And of course, again, the locker room environment is one of those really sacred, special places to get to design. Every locker room is different. And I can't wait to sit down with the team and figure out what they want their new Thunder locker room to look like. But everyone gets that input on the design. The people that run the kitchens, the maintenance staff, all of them have very specific ways that they think their building would operate best. And when we're done and we open it, the thing that I'm most proud of is all those people come and say to me, they say, this building's better than any other, that we've seen. Thank you very much for listening to us. And we have the same promise to you guys. It just takes time, and it takes a lot of listening and making sure that all the right voices are at the table when we're drawing lines.
David Manica, president, owner of Manica Architecture. We look forward to having you be an honorary citizen of Oklahoma City. Look forward to your days here, and we look forward to working with you on this really tremendous opportunity for the future of Oklahoma City and our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate it, and I feel the same way. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dan and David. I mean, it's so hard to believe that I remember the voting process taking place last season, and now there is an architecture team that is getting the design process ready to go for this new arena. It's so cool to see the wheels starting to turn on this process.
And just the excitement in the city for this. I mean, what an amazing opportunity for the city, and a continuation of that renaissance that we've seen here in this town. I mean, I'm so blessed to have watched this city grow since 2012 when I got here.
Right.
And what an amazing next step in the journey.
Oh my gosh, we are so excited about that. But just to bring things back to present day, it's game week, y'all. There is so much happening this week, including the Thunder's regular season opener against the Denver Nuggets. That game is going to be on October 24th. It's going to be on TNT. And as you heard from Lou, this team is excited and ready to rock and roll. And I know we are too.
Yeah, I mean, by the time you all are listening to this, we'll be inside of 48 hours until we're getting on a plane and headed to Denver for that season opener against the Nuggets. And yeah, I mean, this is what these guys have spent all summer working towards is to begin this journey. We have no idea, none of us, how this 6-month process of the 82 game regular season, how it's going to play out. There's a bazillion different possibilities for how this will go.
Yeah.
but you can't get started until night one. And you can start to lay that groundwork and make that first step on your journey night one. And it's going to be really exciting to see these guys in action.
It's going to be a long season, so buckle up, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it all starts on October 24th. We are so looking forward to it. But until then, thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much to Lu Dort, David Manica, and our producer, Matt Bishop. And until next time, Thunder up, and catch you later.